do this here, but we ask students to think about their answer. And then to share with one other person about their answer. And then to share with the whole class. And this gets everyone involved. As I say, for time purposes, we don't have that kind of time here, but I want you to think, what's the meaning of each word in that title? Managing, student-centered, EMI, blended, classroom, TA. All of those are important concepts that we will talk about.
This is a very important slogan which will be tested. So you have to remember, for the end of the session, you have to know this is what we believe, how to manage a student-centered EMI blended classroom as a TA.
So if you want to make notes, go ahead.
But before we proceed, we need to introduce ourselves a little bit. You know that there are two Professor Rouse. Why?
We're not brother and sister.
And, well, lady first, right? Okay, I am Victoria Rao. I teach in the Graduate Institute of Linguistics. I'm a linguist. And usually I have been invited to give the presentation as Professor Chen did at the very beginning, talking about TA's responsibilities and ethics. But since now our university is very much focused on EMI, this time they invited me to talk about EMI classroom and how a TA should behave in this kind of setting. And I told them, if you invited me, you have to invite Professor Jerry Rao too, because I am in humanities and social sciences, but this professor covers engineering and natural sciences. Go ahead, introduce yourself. Professor Jerry Rao.
My background is actually in biology, but now I'm teaching in the engineering program. Some of my students are here, teaching engineering writing. And so I've been doing that for about 6 years in the engineering school.
So now we can move on to our important concepts of this slogan.
Okay, so let's start with the first one, managing. The idea of managing, many professors are a one-man show. And the TA does nothing except proctor the exams and set up the projector. But in a managing situation, we believe it's better to work as a team. That it's not the teacher, the TA, and the students in a linear relationship, but that they work as a team to accomplish the learning. The idea of student-centered is that it's not teacher-centered. The traditional classroom is teacher-centered. Everyone focuses on the teacher. The teacher plans the curriculum, teaches the curriculum. If you're a good enough student, you get it. If not, too bad. It's not student-led. It's not, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that. The students don't have any idea of where they're going. So it's teacher-directed, where the teacher helps the students take these random thoughts and bring them all together into usable ideas, meeting their needs. That's the idea of a student-centered classroom. And then EMI. And I'll let my wife explain this because this is her area.
And EMI is not an English class. And it's not a translation class. And we are not actually focusing on the tool. English is a tool. You know, that's not the idea. An EMI class is like this. Voila. Look at this slide. Using English as an invisible resource. It's there, but we don't have to know all the nuts and bolts about electricity. But we enjoy the light. We can learn another subject by using the light. So we fully integrate the subject matter and English. So we don't even feel English is there. That's the idea of a very ideal, perfect, excellent EMI course.
And then blended. Blended is not just using multiple strategies. It's not just variation from class to class, but specifically it's mixing online materials with in-class materials so that everybody has a different way of learning and everyone can learn effectively.
And we use all kinds of resources, online, offline, in classroom, and off classroom. Everything blended like a blender. Something better, something tasty, something more exciting to serve to our students.
And then we have classroom. Well, normally we have a classroom, but sometimes, especially now with COVID, we may be online. We may be not in a physical classroom, but we're still in a place of learning where we are exchanging ideas and learning about the material.
We have to remember, students do not only learn in the classroom, they learn in various settings, various places, using various tools and resources. So as professors and TAs, we need to provide all these resources to meet their needs.
Okay, and then finally, the TA. The TA in some classes is a servant. But ideally, we want to focus on the TA as a co-pilot. A co-pilot helps the pilot fly the plane. And they do that not by doing exactly the same thing, but for instance, the pilot is controlling the direction of the plane and the speed of the plane, while the co-pilot reads off all the list of things that have to be done and clicks the switches at the right time so that the pilot can focus on the direction and speed and not all that other stuff. That's what we think is the ideal role.
Many of my TAs are very proactive. They think about everything ahead of time. So when it comes to real teaching, sometimes when I am guiding the class, I forget about this or forget about that, and I look at my TA, she quickly tells me, hey, you need to mention this, or she push a certain button, voila, the most important thing appears. So I need a co-pilot like this. We do it together. If I make a mistake, we both crash, and all my students also suffer. So that's our idea. That's how we treat our TAs. They are co-pilots.
Okay, so let's give just briefly the context of our teaching.
For me, my undergraduate EMI courses include 2 classes in the General Education Center, such as language and culture, and also now I teach Indonesian in an EMI setting because all of my TAs speak English. So I use this to teach Indonesian via English. And for my graduate courses, you can see I am a social linguist, interested in applied linguistics in Austronesian language areas. So all of these courses are my EMI courses in the Institute of Linguistics.
For me, I teach 2 courses in electrical engineering. Engineering writing basic class, which is mostly for master's students, and then advanced class, which is mostly for PhD students. Both of them are taught in English because they're learning all aspects of English for practicing for conferences, for reading papers, etc.
Professor Jerry's classes are EAP classes, which are not EMI classes.
Because I don't teach engineering per se. I'm teaching engineering writing, so I'm teaching English as a tool, using English as a tool rather than fully incorporating subject matter of engineering. If I were teaching engineering and teaching people to write about that particular subject, that would be fully MI. Okay, so let's talk about our teaching strategies and how they relate to each of these 6 different areas. Managing. Again, team teaching. We believe in the idea of a co-pilot, and everyone does what they can do best.
Therefore, I need to look for the best TAs. We have to remember we have different personality characteristics. Some of us are larks. We are energizer. We can talk non-stop. Some of us are taskmasters, which are very much like a hawk. We find the prey, grab it, eat it on time without wasting any effort. Some of us are peace-loving people. We listen carefully. We are participators, or a dove. And some of us are, most of the engineering people, are owls. They are analyzers.
And so we use this as a demonstration at the beginning of all of our classes, because we want the students to work together with one another. We want them to work together with us. And so we want them to understand why people think and act differently. And this helps them to understand themselves and others.
This is very helpful to form small groups, so you know who should be the leader of this group, who is talkative, who can think clearly, and who can present effectively.
And you learn that some people who are the hawks, they just want to get started right away. And the analyzers, let's think about this. Let's think about different possibilities. And that helps when you're working in a small group to know why people act differently.
And usually, if you ask people to share, don't ask the owls. They will hate you. They say, I need a long time to think through everything so I can provide the correct answer.
And this is one of the reasons we use the think, pair, share. Because otherwise, the energizers and taskmasters jump in right away before the owls have even gotten through option 1, let alone option 2 or 3.
The energizers, on the other hand, are not afraid of giving ideas because they are very fast. They talk about something, oops, that's wrong, it's the other direction. Okay, I'll go to the other direction. They are not afraid of losing face.
Can you tell that she is, when she's up front here? Oh, never mind.
Actually, I am a taskmaster because I want to start on time, finish on time, and then every 5 minutes, every 10 minutes, I need to have a different activity because I need to have different tasks so that I am not bored.
On the other hand, I'm basically an analyzer. You wouldn't know it from my talking up here, but that's my basic personality. But I know if I talk like an analyzer in here, you're all going to fall asleep, and that's not very good. So I'm not going to do that.
So in other words, no matter who you are, naturally, you need to pick up other personalities so that you can relate to the students. You can talk to them as a participator, listen to them. You can also write papers, produce activities, or you can finish your work on time and also talk lively so students won't fall asleep.
So as a TA, we're trying to teach people each of these has a benefit, and you need to learn from other people what their strengths are and try to imitate that in the appropriate areas of your life. So this goes along with the idea of being student-centered. That, again, we use all of these activities where people are learning to work together in small groups. These are from my classes, where they're working together with a partner, talking about the issues and learning all of these different useful skills.
And in my class, undergraduate classes, I tend to use case studies so that students can learn to use group discussion to solve problems.
In my courses, because it's a skill-based class, and so I teach not only the structure of the articles, so people can read and write articles, but also things like how to use MS Word, how to use EndNote, how to use tools that will help them to do the work more effectively. And so, again, EMI is teaching the subject matter in English. And one of the important parts of this is scaffolding, where you begin by demonstrating how to do something. Then you help people do it in class, and then you allow them to do it alone. In my classes, again, I demonstrate first, show what I'm looking for. Then in class, we do it together, and then go home and they continue to do the same thing on their own.
In an EMI class, we have to do something important, which is asking the students to read the books ahead of time, to prepare for the assigned readings. Because in a regular non-EMI class, they can just come in, sit there for 3 hours listening to the professors. They can even fall asleep and wake up. They still follow the professors in their first language, but not in an EMI class. If they are not prepared, forget it. They are sitting there, can't understanding a thing. Therefore, in an EMI course, we have to provide scaffolding too. For example, in my graduate course, if the students have to write the final paper, I do it step by step. My TA worked with me together by starting with research proposals, and then present example articles, and then submit the first half of the paper, the second half of the paper. Then before the end of the semester, they finish everything. So that this is our way of teaching my students to be successful in an EMI course. And of course, my TA and I have to grade everything in detail. I never assign my TA to do all the work. We have to do it together because students need different inputs, some from the professors, some from the TA, some from peer review. So they need each other. They need us as a team.
And I do the same sort of thing. We begin by analyzing exemplar articles. You can tell we share a lot of ideas about teaching.
Because we've been married for 37 years.
And then they describe the structure of articles. And then they learn to write by pre-writing and writing and rewriting. So again, mine is focused on the writing process rather than on the subject matter. And I tell them from the beginning, our team includes your advisor because they have to help you with the subject matter because that's not my specialty. So our team, in my case, is expanded even beyond our classroom. And so this comes to the idea of blended learning. We use multiple resources, online and offline, in class, out of class, whether it's a textbook, print, or an ebook, doesn't matter. Journal articles, downloaded PDFs, MOOC courses. Both of us are involved with the massive online open courses that are online. And I have audio-visual PowerPoints that I present to the students. And then in the classroom, we have, again, these various activities and questions.
We think the important time when we are together in the classroom is for the students to clarify their questions. So a lot of things should be done outside of the classroom. Therefore, I produced many MOOCs in both Indonesian and Filipino for my courses. That's why they can view these ahead of time as flipped classroom. They can also use these to provide background knowledge or provide additional information. And overall, I want my MOOCs to be motivating. They can watch my exciting opening dialogues, increase their motivation. I also have interactive games on my MOOCs.
Okay, and for me, in my classes, I had to write a textbook on this because there was no suitable textbook for engineering writing. And it's online, but it's only available through the library. I can't put it on eCourse because it's copyrighted. And so they have to go through the university network to access this online, and then they can download it through the library's ebook copy. But the PowerPoint summaries are not copyrighted. They're publicly available, and so I can put these on eCourse, and I have an audio PowerPoint that I produced that summarizes each of the chapters, and also a MOOC series for the first 9 chapters, which is the main part that we cover in our courses, and it shows how to do those exercises. So the students have a choice. Depending how they learn best, they can use any or all of these materials for that. And again, both of us use this flipped classroom approach. In many classes, you learn a new material in class, and you go home and practice. But for both of us, we flip those so that we ask students to read the material at home and then come to class to practice, because you can't practice by yourself at home. It doesn't work whether it's with language courses or with writing courses.
Or with materials, if you have to learn a subject.
So one of the difficulties with this is when you come to, if we're stuck by COVID, we're stuck in an online environment, that, pair work, working with another person, becomes much more difficult. You can't come alongside and sort of show them on their computer where to move the mouse, where to click. It becomes much more difficult. And so when we have had that situation, we have to adapt. And the TAs have to adapt. We have to be flexible and learn new strategies together to make it work.
In other words, we don't want our students to sit in front of the computers for 3 hours just listening to the lectures. That's a pain in the neck. That's a killer.
Literally a pain in the neck.
Pain in the neck, yes. So if we don't want to do that, why do we put our students in that difficult situation? We need to be flexible. Sometimes maybe we don't need all 3 hours. We can try to make some small groups, discussion or practice, or use the time more efficiently if we have to get stuck in an online teaching situation.
So let's talk just a little bit about some of the specific activities that each of us use for in our particular classes.
For me, every time when I invite a TA to co-teach with me, to join my team, my goal is to make this TA an excellent TA awardee. She or he has to be a recipient of the University TA's Award. So I keep that in mind. Now let me show you. For example, my undergraduate class, my EMI courses, my TA have to prepare a short video clip at the beginning of each class, so that when we talk about gender, for example, they collected the most current information and show a video clip for 1 to 2 minutes maximum, because after 3 minutes, students are not paying attention. It has to be short, succinct, to the point, and attractive. And then my TA will also do a little role play at the beginning, so that students are all warmed up to discuss. And the TA also gives comments on the students' debates or their discussion. And they also walk around to see some groups are too quiet, and then give a little bit help. And once in a while, I invite my TA to present her work or his work so that all the younger brothers and sisters can see the role model, the big brother, big sister TA can do such wonderful job. And they admire this TA. They want to be just like him or her. And the TA also give comments on their reflections, on their written assignments. And most important thing is I ask the TAs to pay attention to the students' performance. At the end of each semester, we give each student or each group an award, electronic award. You know, there are all kinds of things you can award them, right? So this is something they really appreciate. It's an encouragement. And once in a while, we invite an outside speaker so they are not bored with these old faces. They have some new face to interact with. I also pay attention to what classroom I use. I really like CCU, Best Classroom, which is called TEAL Classroom, Technology Enabled Active Learning. So in this classroom, students are sitting in groups, facing computers, and also so many screens in the classroom. They feel this is a technology-oriented class. This is current, this is not old. My TA, works so hard, she looks older than I am. But this TA, who already graduated with a PhD, when she TA'd my class, a graduate course of 17 people, her rating was 5. Perfect! Where can you get a TA who's rated 5? She did. And later, she became an assistant professor. She was recruited back to co-teach with me on digital humanities. He helped me create a web page to put all my students' work there to show to the public, their achievement.
So in my class, it's very different. Again, my class is limited to 10 students from a variety of subjects of engineering and science. It's difficult for any single graduate student who's, even if they're a PhD student, they know their field very well, but they don't know all these other fields. I do because I've been working with these students in various fields for 6 years, 8 years. But they're not specialists in all this subject matter. They're, in many cases, not primarily English speakers, but they're my former students. And so they know what an article should look like. They know what should be in an article, where it should be. And so based on their experience in my class before, they can go around and they can help students say, do you think this is this component or that component? And they can help them. Should this be in this division or that division? Where do I put this? How do I change this? They can help based on their experience. So it's mostly, in my class, they're not doing role plays. That doesn't really apply to engineering writing. But they assist the students one-on-one, just going around the room, as I do, to make sure that during each class, they can talk to all the different students. And in some cases where I have some students who are really low level in English, if they speak Chinese, then they can speak with them in Chinese, provide translation, provide assistance, much more easily than I can. So let's talk now briefly about the future of EMI, particularly at CCU.
At CCU, I help create a plan for EMI, the major principles behind it. So I visualize the whole CCU EMI progression model like this.